Hey everyone, Nick Como here, co-founder of aiquery.io, coming at you with yet another quick use case video. In today's use case, we're actually going to talk about something that I've been asked about a decent amount recently, and I'm super psyched to talk about, and that is integrations and how we at aiquery approach integrations. So I think it's critically important to break this down for a couple of reasons. The first and foremost is that so much of kind of our approach and what we're trying to do here is make the day-to-day lives easier for you as the admin, right? The other part is that I think that AI Query's primary use case and focus is as a complement to other solutions, whether we're talking more security focused solutions, and that could be gathering additional context in the sense of a breach to try and help identify any potential persistence mechanisms or scope of damage, or whether it's just any given alert trying to gather surrounding context to help optimize and validate signal to noise ratio. The other flip side is that more on the IT and hardening and hygiene side, it could be spot checks between vulnerability scans. You see a CVE come out, you don't want to run a full scan. Spot check within our tool. Go ahead, say, hey, this exists on these three machines. I'm going to take action on those right away, not have to run a labor-intensive scan. So in order for that to be true, in order for it to effectively work as a complement to everything else you have, it needs to integrate into your current workflows, which I think is just vitally important. And the way that can be done is multiple different ways, but I think the primary method is integrations, right? And so the approach that we're taking, so I've gotten asked, hey, Nick, so what integrations do you have? And the answer that I give is, what do you want? Basically, it's any, because we built everything with a REST API, an accessible REST API. And so the approach is basically, hey, if you want to actually extract this data and send it to a different tool, you can do that with the REST API. If you have a specific integration, I'm happy to build it, and we'll send you my Python scripts. But in general, I like to break down the integrations into kind of two components, right? And so that is the data gathering and then sending the data to a different location, right? That's the sending the data to a centralized location. And then there's the orchestration of actions, right? So the sending data to another location, you can think of as, hey, this query's gotten all this data. Let me dump it into my SIEM tool so I don't have to constantly pivot between products in order to get all the data. Instead, let me just have AI query be able to send the data that we're gathering to one centralized location so we can do our investigation all in one pane of glass. That's part one. And then part two, which they complement each other, is the more orchestration side. So I think of that as more kind of SIEM or SOAR utilization, right? So let's say you have an NGAV, an EDR, a firewall, and you see ADC alert, have it set up to automatically gather surrounding context via XYZ query or query pack. And then you probably have that information sent back to that SIEM so you can view it in one pane of glass. So those are kind of two primary mechanisms, both of which obviously we can achieve. And I figured, hey, why don't I just kind of, instead of talking about it, I think that's going to be like the end of the video is here's the general concept. Figured, why not showcase it? So let's walk through how we actually set that up. Don't worry, it'll be brief. But here we got API roles under settings. So first things first, you create an API role and you generate the key with an expiration date. And that's basically what you're using for making these calls. So if you ever need any additional help, right over here behind my head, we have a nice little purple need help button. You just have to trust me that it looks really good because, again, my face is in the way. But here's kind of the breakdown for actually how to create the role. And then we also have some API docs if you want exact examples of how to actually utilize the REST API. So we have these post methods, but then we have some Python examples as well. I tend to do everything in Python. I know a lot of people prefer Postman, whatever. But those are kind of the two primary methods. So that's all well and good, but let's actually show it in action. So first one, very simple. Here we have kind of the use case number two that I was talking about, which is automated orchestration of data collection. So kind of the requests, post requests into AI query to actually take action. So here we see that I ran this query, Nick Como, cool little user icon. But then we can see test, which if you recall was the name of my API key, with a little key to note, hey, this was run by an API key. So users query via the API, super cool, super simple. But that's all I was gonna do, just to show it. And I was like, oh, Nick, that's kind of lame. Maybe just do a Postman GET request. Instead, anybody who knows me knows that I have proclivity for Slack. And so I like to use Slack's API to build apps to kind of orchestrate any workflows into Slack because that's where I live 95% of the time. Let's just have anything else I'm doing just dump right into Slack. So I figured, you know what, that'd be kind of cool. I know it's not as practical as setting up a SIEM integration or anything, which I can do if anybody's specific requests, but figured, hey, I'll start with what I know. So couple hours, built this, and here's what we got. So we have basically the information from AI query, which is just the URLs that we want to hit, and the actual routes, and then the API key itself. And then in Slack, we have our bot token and our channel ID. So very simple, basic script. I can actually continue making this cooler if anyone's interested. But basically the way it would work, I don't have it set up right now because I didn't want like a long video of it polling and me sitting there running a query being like, okay, wait, within 5 minutes, the next poll, it's going to have results. So instead, I hard coded it in for this video, but that's the basic intent, is that I'd have it just run on a while true loop or a poll or something like that, a notification listener. Very simple. And then what it'll do is it'll extract all recent queries, dump the information. Again, it dumps it in JSON, but then I build it into a CSV. It's just easier to upload a CSV to Slack. And then here we actually have the Slack post content. So again, very simple, very basic, but potentially useful. And again, think of this more as a juxtaposition of how it could be utilized within, a SIEM tool or something that may be more kind of whatever your current workflow is. So let's run the script here. And in just a moment, we'll see. We have notifications. And unfortunately, I was already clicked into this page because I was really excited to show. There we go. Hummus. That's what I was looking for. My Slack sound is hummus because it's the coolest Slack sound, and argue with me, please. But what we have here, we can see recent query results. We have the query ID, which is the one that was actually automated query run there via the API. The query that I ran, select star from users, and when the query was created. Then down here, we actually have the data, which is in a CSV, which you could download if you wanted to, and then open it up in Excel, whatever, what have you. But yeah, that's kind of the whole flow. So again, you have this set up to run kind of constantly, and then it would gather any new queries and dump that information to whatever source you want. I just like Slack, hence aiquery Slacker. So hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that addressed the question, because I think integrations are vitally important and core to our value proposition of where we'd integrate into your day-to-day workflow. Genuinely, all we're trying to do here is make your lives as an admin just slightly easier. And that's what we're hoping to do, and integrations are a critical component to that. So hopefully this is a helpful example. If you have any specific integrations you want to see and want me to make a video or a brief integration for, please let me know. If you want any of the base code, I'll happily stick it up on GitHub. But until then, have a great day, and thanks everyone.